what I mean. It's a means of, it's a way of connecting, creating a connection with God, because the Bible said that in Genesis chapter 4, I think it said when Seth was born, then men began to call upon the name of the Lord. I said then men began to pray to God. In Jeremiah 33:3, the word of God said, call unto me, I will answer and show you great and mighty things which you do not know. And in the Old Testament, you realize that every time men wanted to pray, they would build an altar. When they wanted to establish a connection with God, they would build an altar. And what other people don't understand is that people don't have to pray for God to communicate with them. Look at Pharaoh. Pharaoh wasn't serving the true and living God. He wasn't serving the God of Israel. But God gave him a dream. And Joseph, who was serving God, who was connected to God, was able to interpret the dream. Nebuchadnezzar wasn't serving God and given a dream. So you don't have to pray for God to communicate to you. And that's why I'm saying you can't limit prayer to just a communication. It's literally you connecting yourself to God. Literally you establishing a connection to God when you pray. In the Bible, we see where every time men wanted to call upon the name of God, they would build an altar. Noah built an altar. Abraham, throughout the land of Canaan, he built an altar and he called upon the name of God. Whenever God communicated through a dream to Jacob, he built an altar. And this is the importance of an altar. You build an altar to call upon God. What happened when Elijah was challenging the prophets of Baal? If you realize, they both built an altar. The prophets of Baal were calling on their false god. Elijah said, call, because you know that prayer is literally calling upon God. And Elijah called upon his God with the altar. He built the altar, represents a place of covenant, really. And so when he built the altar and he called upon God, he said the God will answer by fire. And so a lot of people get frustrated because they'll be like, oh, prayer is communicating with God. Prayer is a dialogue, God is not answering me, blah, blah, blah. You have to understand that different parts in the scriptures where men prayed, they had to wait for an answer. You have to wait for an answer. Just like in the days, you used to send mails and you have to wait for that response. That happens sometime in prayer. Sometimes God responds to you immediately, and sometimes you have to wait and you have to constantly be praying. One man of God defined prayer as congealing fire. And really when you pray, fire is being created because you're establishing a connection. So the Bible said Daniel, he was a man of prayer. Daniel prayed 3 times a day. He made it what? It's supplication. He called upon God. So don't just limit prayer to just communicating. You're calling upon God. Prayer is the means by which you connect yourself to God, and in constant prayer